Forge from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Forge from Iron. If you are new around here, or even if you're an old hand at these things, please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. We are here to discuss the goings-on yesterday at the Gtech Community Stadium, and I've just realised I've made a misprint on that because it says that it was a 1-1 draw. It clearly wasn't, so allow me to correct that. Just bear with me. I can always edit this bit out. Oh no, it's live. Never mind. Okay, so there we go. Emirates FA Cup, 3rd round. Brentford 0, West Ham United 1 at the Gtech Community Stadium. You'd like to think that I'd know how to do this by now. I've done it for long enough. Anyway, I was joined by Steve, as you might have noticed. Duke's not available. The pub has gone absolutely manic, which is good news. I mean, we're in the month of January, just after Christmas, New Year. The pub trade can be a little bit slack, but I've got to say that Duke's pub is absolutely crazy. He turned around to me this morning and said that he's actually on for a record week, and he's not even had Sunday, which is quite nice. Anyway, so I've got Steve in with us. So how are you doing, Steve? All good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Can you hear me all right now? I couldn't hear you.
All good, mate. All good.
Yeah.
Got you on FM. All good.
Splendid.
Good.
Yeah, I bought off the subbench at the last minute, as it were.
Fair. Well, we thank you for your help. Got Larry in. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you are well. Hammer 89's in the building. Hope you're having a good weekend. Kent's coming. Only seen 15 minutes worth of highlights. Didn't have a boat in the south of France. Oh no! What you mean? You didn't go, Kent? You didn't go? That's unusual. You're normally at all the away games. You're a stalwart. And Mr. Walsh is in the building as well. Right. Let's get down to it, Stephen. For those of you watching on YouTube, and if you're not watching on YouTube, you're watching on Facebook or on Twitter, please feel free to pop across to the YouTube channel. And we've got a little poll that's running at the minute, and I'll close it just before we finish. Basically, it's asking you for your votes on the man of the match. There's 4 candidates. Saeed Benrahma, obviously the goal scorer, Naya Fagerd, Lucas Paquetá and Declan Rice. They are the 4 candidates at the moment. I'll close it before we finish. It'd just be quite interesting to see what all of you guys think as you're going along. So please feel free to jump in on that, and we'll have a look at that. So, Steve, did you catch the game from a sort of like a boat on the south off of the south of France?
No, I couldn't find anywhere that was how should we say showing it. So I've watched the highlights and I listened to the commentary. That was about the best I could do yesterday.
Okay. Okay,
And
fair. Well, before we get into the goings on, because there may be people that are sort of wondering what was the team that David Moyes deployed. So an hour before kickoff, this is the squad that he announced. He went with a very strong 11. He went with an awful lot stronger 11 than I thought he would. I mean, those of you that watched the match preview, Steve, would know I didn't think he'd put out an 11 anything like that. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
I was quite surprised, because I've got to say, I honestly thought he would prioritise the Premier League, because struggling. But on the other hand, it's worked out for him, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
But I'm. Well, one of us has. You back?
No,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, good. No, I was surprised, and I wonder whether it was a move to try and build confidence in those players. You know,
Possibly.
Because I know the game against Leeds, I just thought we were devoid of all confidence when we went 2-1 up.
Mm.
And I think that might have been the strategy. But I think more annoyingly was, what was it? Areola and Scamacca got injured.
Yeah.
Or the warm-up. I mean,
yep.
How frustrating is that? He's saying he hopes Scamacca's not too bad. What do I think of it? It was what it was, but I was surprised. It was stronger than I expected. I expected him to play some of the kids. I expected Downs to start. Obviously, I expected Areola to start, but if he's injured,
it was in the warm-up, wasn't it? I think he would have played, but for that.
Yeah. What was the thing with Scamacca? Was he injured in training, or in the warm-up, or in the Leeds game?
I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm just trying to find, because we're on as you obviously know, but the people watching might not. For clarity, Steve and I are both in a Hammers Chat Addicts WhatsApp group, and the message, I'm trying to find it now. There was a message that went out this morning that gave the reason behind. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Scamacca just felt his knee since after the Leeds game. So apparently this has been going on since then. Areola was playing, and the last kick of yesterday in training, he just felt something at the top of his hip, and Lanzini felt he had a tight groin, so that was difficult. I don't know any of them are too bad. Gianluca, we don't think is too bad. We are hoping it is not too bad. It was going for a scan. Areola, I didn't even see it happening. I thought we were finished, but he got it in his last kick. Manu, we think he should be okay. So make of that what you will. Yeah.
Scamacca being out would be a big loss. Out of all those three, it's Scamacca you want to be okay for the next game. But because, to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of faith in Antonio hitting a barn door from 2 feet at the moment.
No.
He'll probably go to kick the ball and miss it.
We've already seen that very, very recently.
Yeah, I know. Hence the comment. I thought that was embarrassing for a Premier League player, but you know, so be it. Back to the game. What did I think of that lineup? Stronger than I expected. That's really all I can say about it. From what I from what I was listening to on the radio in the first half, it sounded pretty dire what was going on the entire game. It sounded really as if both sides were cancelling themselves out. I mean, Charlie would be a good person to have on because he actually went to the game, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. In fact, as you say that, I might even send him the link. If he comes on, he comes on.
That'd be good, yeah. Charlie, if you're listening.
Prepare yourself, Charlie. You're going to have a message incoming. If you can't, mate, then it's absolutely fine. No problem at all. There you are. Right. Okay. There is the link to join us in the studio if you are able to, and you can give us a fan's perspective on things. But yeah, it's obviously progression into the next round of the cup was very pleasing. I mean, I'm just looking here at some of the stats from the match yesterday. We had 9 shots, but only 1 on target, that being obviously the goal. But then again, Brentford, it has to be said, weren't at the races as far as their attacking game was concerned either. They had 1 more shot than we did. They had 10, and they had 1 shot on target, which obviously they didn't manage to convert. This possession was 60-40. So doesn't seem on the face of it from the stats. And to be honest with you, as far as what I saw, he can't. He's on baby duty. He's on baby duty. No problem, mate. It is what it is. Do what you got to do. As far as the match was concerned, like I say, it wasn't the best. I've seen more entertaining games, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where we had to dig in. We had to show a little bit of character. And the one thing that I'm going to try and take a couple of positives out of the match, in that we got progression, and obviously since then we've now had the draw for the 4th round. And let's be completely honest, Stephen, if there's anybody that's watching this that has managed to sort of like find us at random and they're actually a Derby County fan, welcome along. Before I insult you, please don't forget to subscribe and all that. But I am going to say that although they've got home advantage, I expect us to get through, even if we put out a reserve team, because let's be honest, a Premier League backup team should really be enough to take care of a League One team, even if they've got home advantage, shouldn't it?
Well, it should be, but then look what happened last year it was Kidderminster, wasn't it, away?
It was.
And we're watching it in Duke's pub, you, me,
yep,
Duke and James, and we've only just scraped through that.
Yep.
Yeah, on paper it looks like a favourable draw, but this is West Ham. You know, the way our season is at the moment, anything could happen with that. Look, I'm happier that we got them than, say, somebody like Liverpool away or City away, who have just absolutely whopped Chelsea, haven't they? So, yeah, it's a better draw than that, and I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, Peter makes a great point here. And I got to be honest with you, I haven't looked at Derby's form. Don't even know where they are in League One. They could be running away with it. They could be rock bottom. But Peter's come in with the information that Derby are 16 matches unbeaten. So as he says, it won't be easy. And I don't, listen, Pete, I don't expect them to lay down and have their tummies tickled, especially in front of their own fans. Absolutely not. They'll give everything they can. But fundamentally, when a League One team faces a Premier League team, and even if the Premier League team puts out their backup squad, which will still be stock full of internationals, let's not kid ourselves. Really, they should win. They should win. No ifs, no buts.
Yeah, we should win. But I think if Derby gone 16 unbeaten, obviously their confidence is high. And our confidence isn't at the moment, as was apparent to me when we played Leeds away. If we can turn our league form around a bit and get 4 points, and get 4 points out of the next 6, or even 6 out of the next 6, then I think we'll go in with our under slightly less pressure. Sorry, I buffered then. Under slightly less pressure in the Premier League, bit more confidence, winning habit starting to come back, because I have seen signs of it turning round. Then I think we've got a good chance. But it's, for me, if we can have a cup run, how our next two games go and the mentality that will have will affect massively what we do. For me, the priority has got to be the next two Premier League games. Yeah, playing Derby in the Cup is nice, getting through is nice, but it won't be nice if we're in the bottom three. I won't enjoy it at all. If, on the other hand, we've picked up a few points and we're further up the league, then it will be something I can get really into. But at the moment, my focus is on the league.
Fair. How significant do you think it could turn out to be, or do you think it's not significant? We obviously kept a clean sheet yesterday, which is obviously very pleasing given that our recent problems as far as conceding goals is concerned. And yes, I'm aware that Brentford didn't put out their full strength 11. Yes, I'm aware that Ivan Toney wasn't involved, but we can only deal with what is put in front of us. It's not our problem what Thomas Frank puts out on the pitch and the reasons behind it. Do you think that the move to three centre-backs in Agurd, Ogbonna and Dawson could be a strategy going forwards, or do you think that when it comes to the Premier League game against the Wolves that you think he's going to go back to playing four at the back? What do you think?
Well, it worked yesterday, and to be honest with you, if we could swap Dawson for Zuma, I think we'd be pretty solid.
Okay.
Or Bonner for Zuma, either one of those. The thing is, I love Craig Dawson. I think he's been a great servant to the club.
Yes.
But there's no doubt about it. Against Leeds, he was responsible for the 2 goals. Those were his mistakes. Now, I'm not having to go at him for that. Everybody makes mistakes. But that potentially cost us a very valuable 3 points. Where's Mr. Angry? He couldn't make it tonight, so
he's in a pub cellar. He's getting absolutely inundated with people thrusting £5 and £10 notes into his hand, or at least giving him a
tough
card.
life.
I know.
Yeah. Ogbonna, I think, reads the game very well. I think he reads it better than Dawson. And I think if you have Zuma and Agurd there, I think that would be a very strong back three, which I'd quite like to see. Wing back wise, well, what do you do? You've got, I guess you have Emerson and you have Kufel.
You don't think that Johnson might have played himself into contention on the back of yesterday?
Possibly. But as I said, I only saw the highlights, so I don't know. I mean, do you think he had a good game?
I thought he was decent. I mean, put it this way, I know people would sort of argue, is he playing as a defender in this particular setup? Perhaps not. I could see that you could make the point that, on that graphic, he's not playing in defence, he's playing in midfield. But a wing back is sort of like a bit of a hybrid position, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he was part of a back line that kept a clean sheet away from home in a game that could have been a banana skin. And obviously now, and just sort of like looking a couple of steps down the line, and I sort of bring it back to the Derby match, which obviously is yet to unfold. Just stop and think about this. If we take care of Derby County, which I'll make no apologies for saying we should, whether we do is another matter, we're then in the quarterfinals. We're then in the last 8. We're one game away from Wembley Stadium.
Yep. It's you consider the rest how our season's gone, which is, to be fair, I mean we've both come out of home games absolutely fuming, haven't we, for different reasons. And you look at how our season's gone in the league, and some of the performances have been abjectly bad. We should get through the quarters of the FA Cup. Potentially, if we get a favourable draw, get to Wembley for a semi-final. We're doing well in the Conference League. It's a very odd season, isn't it?
I'm not booking anything yet, Pete. Don't worry. I'm just, like I say, I'm just putting it out there that if we do what we should do and beat Derby County, we're in the quarterfinals, which then puts us one game away from Wembley. Now, I appreciate nobody quite cocks it up like West Ham do. I get it. So I'm not booking anything yet. Don't worry. I'm not telling David Moyes to go down to, get measured up for suits and all the rest of it. Far from it. I know things can happen, but I'll say it's something to just sort of keep in the back of your mind.
Oh, look, a day out of Wembley, semi-final or final would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. Last time I saw us play competitively at Wembley, and I mean I'm old enough to remember this, was when we beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, West Ham go down the Championship and do a cup double.
Yeah, we'll win the Conference League and the FA Cup. That'd be brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah. Only West Ham could do that.
And we'd double qualify for the UEFA League if we did that. Or
unbelievable.
I don't think we will go down. I think Moyes, one thing he said yesterday is we've had to go back and get results ugly.
Evening, James.
Yeah. And I think...
Wondered when you turn up.
Yeah. And I have to say, if that's what it takes to secure our Premier League survival this year, I'm quite happy for us to win ugly and grind it out.
I think we need to in a funny sort of way. I think when you're low on confidence and things seem to be going against you for whatever reason, whether it's your own issues or whether it's the referee making mistakes or, just you're not getting the rub of the green that you might otherwise expect. I think sometimes you do have to kind of go, look, we just got to grind this out, and it might not be pretty. It might stink the place out, and it might not be make it the last game on Match of the Day. But if we can get a point here and maybe sort of nick a win there and all the rest of it, then fine. The thing is, and like I say, I look at it. We got a draw away at Leeds. We won away at Brentford, and now we go to another away game, and we're going to be playing a Wolves team. Listen, they had a good result away at Anfield and in the cup. But they've now got a replay to negotiate. Now, they're going to be like, well, do we go left or do we go right? Now, I'm guessing that they will probably prioritise the Premier League game against us at the expense of the Liverpool game. But you never quite know. You never quite know how the manager's going to think about things. But it'll be. I would say that we're capable. We are capable of going to Wolves and getting something, and even a point. I actually think, all right, maybe in terms of the table, you might turn around and say it might not actually benefit us that much to get a draw. But I think if we did manage to grind out a draw, kept a clean sheet, say, and put in a good defensive performance, I think going forwards, that could reap dividends. I mean, and one other person I want to talk about, Steve, I know, and I appreciate you've only seen the highlights, and any of you guys in the live chat, please chop in, any of the questions that I'm asking, Steve, if you want to answer them similarly, please feel free. It's an open forum. What did you make of Naya Fagurd's display yesterday? I thought he looked good.
Yeah, so did I actually. But every time I've seen him play, I think he's looked real quality. I mean, against Leeds, Kehrer should be incredibly grateful Agurb was on the pitch. The tackle Agurb made in the box to save Kehra's skin was unbelievable, wasn't it? Because I'm watching it with James, and James has gone, penalty. I said, no, he got the ball. I said,
no. Have we lost you, Steve?
Yeah, no, I'm back. You buffered briefly, and now we're back.
I was going to say, you got your Poundland internet again.
Maybe, who knows? I mean, it's
times are tough.
Times are tough, yeah. I mean, we are going through cost of living crisis, and
absolutely.
Some of us try and avoid work at my age as much as possible. No, I'm joking, but yeah, I think he's terrific, and I honestly think if he'd been fit all season, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now.
Yeah. And obviously also when you mentioned him a little bit earlier on, Kurt Zouma is possibly not as far away from first team action as maybe we might have thought when it was announced during the World Cup that he's gone under the knife. I think a lot of people, there was some whispers he could be done for the season. Now we're hearing actually he might be available. Who knows? Maybe even for the Wolves game.
Well, that's what I'm expecting, because David Moyes has been saying, oh, he's near. I mean, when you hear he's having an operation, you think, oh, they're going in there cutting bits and doing all this. But when it actually came to it, and when I read about it, when he had his knee washed out, now that basically just gets rid of all the muck inside it. They don't do that very often now, but because the theory was that you wash it out, well, you've then got to do it again in a couple of years' time. So if you're average Joe in the street, it really didn't do very much. But for an elite sportsman, if that gets him back to some level of fitness, fantastic. Because he's a quality defender. Gerd and Zouma are our best centre backs.
Agreed.
No disrespect to anybody else, and I think Kehra's decent at centre back. He just has a ricket in him.
Oh, he's a liability, isn't he?
I don't know whether it's adjusting to the Premier League or whether that's just the player he is. I haven't quite worked it out yet. But the frustrating thing about Kehra is he's a great ball-playing centre-back or right-back. And if you could get the whole package working with Kehra, it'd be a real asset. But again, back, you sit against Leeds, you're sitting there with your... Every time he gets the ball, you're putting your hands over your eyes because you just don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
So you get those two back at centre defence, I think we look a very different unit. Because not only can both of them are good defenders, but Gerd certainly is a good distributor of the ball as well.
Absolutely.
If we could get Fabianski to throw it out in under, 5 minutes.
That'd be miraculous, wouldn't it?
I did see him do it once last season in a home game, but it was just the once. I think he forgot where he was and he just lobbed it to someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I was just going to say, I've lost my train of thought there about what was it? I was going to make a point about something, and it's completely gone out of my head. Isn't that embarrassing?
That's an age thing, mate. Happens to me all the time.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, hopefully. I mean, we've obviously discussed sort of like people's performances and all the rest of it. And as I say, it was a real arm wrestle from as I say, when I was watching it in my yacht that was just moored off of the south of France.
Oh well, not Monaco not Monaco this time then.
Well, I like to get around, so
there
am I watching this game unfold. And as I say, it really was a bit of an attritional match. As I say, not in terms of quality attacking play. This wasn't it. And as I say, the stats bear that out, that in the 90 minutes of the match, the two teams managed to muster 2 shots on goal, one of which the back of the net. So in a way, I suppose you could turn around and say, well, 50% of the shots on target hit the back of the net. Yeah, but there was only 2 shots in the 90, so but sorry?
Yeah, I'm quite happy if we grind out enough results like that for the rest of the season in the Premier League.
If it gets us a point here and clean sheets and all the rest of it, and maybe reinstalls the confidence and going forwards, and Naya for Gerd and Kurt Zouma can keep injury free, fingers crossed, touch wood. I think that we're going to start creeping up the table. I'm not for 1 minute saying we're going to get a top 8 finish or anything like that, but I think that we've got the capability. The only thing that I worry about is we're putting our hopes on a centre-back pairing who, let's be completely honest about it, Steve, is quite prone to injuries. I mean, Naya for Gerd, everybody said that I knew that had watched French football and knew anything about this guy, said that, yeah, he's a fantastic player, but he does sustain ankle injuries quite readily. And lo and behold,
absolutely frozen, Gates.
Say again? Oh dear, is it your Poundland internet again?
I don't know if it's my internet or
Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Sometimes it works really well, but this evening not so much. You were saying you were worried about a Gerd.
Yeah, I'm worried about both him and Zuma in that, we're sitting here and we're saying, get them two together. We can tighten up at the back, keep the odd clean sheet here, there, which a clean sheet will, as an absolute minimum, mean you get a point because that's just the way football works. But both of them have injury issues. Both of them have a pedigree of getting injured. And no, he had Hammerhead. He had. If you look at his record at his previous club, Stade Rennais, he got ankle injuries. Seriously, have a look. And Zuma, bloody hell. I mean, that's the reason why we got him so cheap. We got him for what? I say cheap. 25 million quid's an awful lot of money to me. But to a Premier League club, and you're signing a guy who's won the Champions League, he's won the World Cup, we managed to get him for 25 million. So you have to ask yourself the question, why? And the reason is because he has a history of problems.
But West Ham don't get that type of player unless there's something wrong with the player. Look at Jack Wilshere. If Jack Wilshere had been fully fit, he would never have come to West Ham. Never. And that is unfortunately what you have to deal with. I mean, the fact that we've got Paquetá and Scamacca is quite remarkable, really. I still think, I still can't get my head around the fact we got those two. Or we bring somebody through from the academy like Deck. Yeah, that's how we get those players. But we just don't have the spending power to go out and buy a fully fit Kurt Zuma type player who's going to play every game of the season.
No, because he'd have probably been double the price we paid for him at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He'd have been £50 million sent back. But fortunately, he's as hard as nails because he's played through injury most of the season. And he's played well with that injury. So if this has sorted his knee out for the rest of the season, we're going to get better performances.
Yeah. I don't know whether James is still in the chat. He might have just nipped in and then sort of nipped off again to sort of say his piece. We'll cover it. We'll cover it. On the 69th minute, now Saeed Benrahma wasn't on the starting lineup for Leeds, which I thought, okay, maybe he's saving him for the Brentford game. It's his old club, all the rest of it, a little bit of nostalgia and all the rest of it. He didn't start him yesterday, which I thought that was really odd. I thought to myself, I mean, to me, this is my opinion, I think he has been our most effective player taking the forwards. I think he's our top goal scorer from memory. All right, I think he's got 3 or 4 league goals, but we've been struggling to score, so that's actually quite good. 69th minute though, substitutions made. And Thomas Souček was given the rest of the night off, and Saeed Benrahma came onto the pitch. And 10 minutes in to that particular time on the pitch, on the 79th minute, Declan Rice wins the ball in midfield. The ball runs to Saeed Benrahma. Now, at this point, he's probably about 30 yards, something like that, from goal. And he hit it. And the moment it left his foot, I was like, that's in. When you see it back, the one criticism I'll make, and this isn't a criticism of Saeed Benrahma, I'll add this. My name's not David Moyes. I sort of looked at the goalkeeper and I was like, it was actually really close to him. And I thought, surely he could have just got a hand up. But in fairness, it was travelling pretty rapid. But he put the ball away. He chose not to celebrate, which I understand. I don't necessarily agree with it because I think, well, if you're at a club and they're paying you wages, celebrate it. I mean, don't take liberties, but
yeah, But I get why he didn't, and I don't have a problem with him not. But he came on and he made difference again.
He did.
He does this, doesn't he? And I mean, so far for me, he's been our hammer of the year.
Oh yeah.
I've been the first to call. I've been the first to call out BREWHU when he's had a stinker, and there was one particular home game where I think both of us were saying, "What on earth is he doing?" He was just absolutely awful that day. Couldn't control the ball, couldn't pass it. This season, he's been very, very good. And I think, I mean, Moyes was actually quite complimentary about him, but I think he frustrates Moyes because there are occasions when he tries to do something difficult when a simple pass would create a goal, a much better scoring opportunity.
Do you think that when, I mean, you say about David Moyes' comments after the match and all the rest of it, do you agree when people pick up on certain comments that David Moyes makes in the post-match interview about Said Benrahma specifically, that do you feel that he can never give him a criticism, a praise without somewhere in there being a veiled criticism?
I think we're all on high alert to Moyes saying anything about Said Benrahma. Because there's been a couple of times when I think unfairly Moyes has had a go at him, actually. And Said Benrahma is possibly the most divisive player in the West Ham squad because he's clearly a huge, huge talent. And when he's on form, he's brilliant. He's a pleasure to watch. Let's be honest. When he's having a good game, you pay your entrance fee just to watch him.
Yep.
But the problem is, some people want him to be beyond criticism.
That's cynical, David. That's cynical. Could be true.
Could be. He's not.
Hill. Is that all in the Premier League? That's not Premier League goals, is it? I think is that in all competitions?
Still good.
Is it? Oh no, I'm not a criticism.
It's
just a question. I'm fairly sure he's got 3 in the Premier League. We haven't scored many as a team, in fairness. So he's probably got a quarter of all our league goals.
Yeah, my internet's really having fun this evening, as you can tell. Look, some people want Benny to be beyond criticism. He shouldn't be. But then, having said that, there are an awful lot of players from David Moyes that get a pass that shouldn't. I mean, Souček's he played well against Leeds. I'll give him that. He had a good game against Leeds. But there have been times this season when Souček's been awful and nothing's been said. There's been times when Deck hasn't cut it. And, but that's Deck. It's all right.
Souček hasn't cut it for, a year, 18 months, let's be honest, by and large.
Yeah, but he's not been played in his to his strengths, has he?
No, but,
Oh, not again.
How's your internet playing around?
My internet's going to drive me mad by the end of this. He's not been played to his strengths, and I feel a bit sorry for him.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of people in the chat that seem to be at odds. I mean, people see things different ways, and it doesn't mean that one's right, one's wrong. It's just an opinion and how people look at things. I mean, Paul made the comment that he wishes that Moyes would stop digging him out publicly. He gives almost all other players a free pass. If Benny found consistency, he'd be fantastic, but he would not be at West Ham. That's probably a fair point. But then Dean goes on to have the opposite view, where he says he thinks everyone is looking for the hidden meaning in Moyes' comments. And yesterday, he didn't think that there was any hidden criticism. And then Dave goes on to say that Moyes can't praise Benny. It must be personal. So there's people that are out there. This is not a universal thing. People will see it different ways. I get that. It's all about opinions. I am aware that there are times that Moyes has come out and said this, that, and the other about Benny when he's being complimentary, I'm talking, but there'll sometimes be woven in with that a slight sort of but I didn't feel his passing in the first half or something like that. I felt he gave the ball away or da 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 da. There's usually something woven in there that if you're looking hard enough. But the thing is, it's like what do they say? Confirmation bias. Sometimes when if you look hard enough for something, you'll almost invariably find it. I mean, do you think that might be a factor in what we're looking at here?
Yesterday, Moyes' comments after the game yesterday. Some people going, "Oh, he can't not dig Benny out, can he?" And I've listened to it and I've thought, actually, everything he said was reasonable. For me, from where I was. And Moyes said he scored a worldie, had a great game, but sometimes this season he's got to make better decisions with his passing. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. And I'd agree with that assessment. We've watched him play, and sometimes there's been an obvious ball on. He's trying to do something more difficult. Now, what Moyes said wasn't inaccurate. And I thought, yeah, fair comment. But, of course, some people saw it as him having a go at Benny. I didn't see it like that. I saw him just highlighting where he needs to improve. Fair. And there's nothing wrong in that for me. It's when he unfairly has a go at him that's when I get him. And I agree with Ken. I don't think he was a Moyes signing.
I don't know whether he wasn't a Moyes signing, because I think we all know that it was Eberechi Eze who went to Crystal Palace in the end that was actually Moyes' choice. I think that Saeed Benrahma was signed with the approval of David Moyes. But I think it was one of those almost like it's the last one on the shelf, so I suppose I'll have to take it, really, won't I? Because it was a last minute thing, because he was signed on loan originally, wasn't he? Because there was all this stuff about the medicals found something in his blood. We're not too sure, this, that, and the other. Sounds a little bit like David Sullivan trying to pull a stroke, but there you go. And then obviously we signed him on loan, and then we bought him later on in the season, didn't he? I mean, even Mr. Walsh goes on to say that it was a Sullivan Salthouse signing. As I say, I think that it was signed off by Moyes. I think that Moyes wouldn't have agreed to it. If put it this way, I don't think that he would allow someone parachuting a player in. I might be wrong, but I think that possibly Benny wasn't his first choice. That's
no,
sure.
I don't think he was. But to be fair, and I'll say this about Benny, he's shown great character. He's got his head down. He's worked hard, and he's arguably deserves to start every game. The only one time Benny's got fed up with it, and you could see it, was when he said to Moyes, "Why is it always me?" and stormed past him.
Newcastle last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, and to be fair, I get his frustration, but he's worked hard. He's got his head down, and he's more than proven his worth.
Yeah.
So who thinks we'll sign any players this month? We'll wait until 10 minutes before the window shuts and sign Fellaini filter from a Mongolian league.
Or Jesse Lingard. That's already out there now. We said it the other day, so stuff it. I might as well just come out of it. Yeah, we'll sign Jesse Lingard.
I can't honestly see there is any chance of us getting Lingard.
I personally think that Sullivan will just go, no, sorry. I've backed you to the hill on all of the players that you brought in the summer. I have backed you 100% on this one. No, David. No. And the polls we did that asked the question, Lingard in January, overwhelmingly, it wasn't even close. No. So I don't think it's going to happen. But as I say, I'm just mindful that, it's like an obsession that he's even after all that has happened over the last 18 months relating to Jesse Lingard, and that he ended up going to Nottingham Forest, that he's still got this thing. Well, maybe I could get a tune out of him. Maybe I could sort of, he likes a challenge, doesn't he?
Well, to be fair, I think Lingard, if you brought him in our team, which is, I believe, has more innate talent than Nottingham Forest does, I think Lingard would be a good signing. But
That's a fair point. Well,
but on the other hand, with how he behaved during the summer, I wouldn't want him anywhere near the club.
Yeah. And this rumour, I mean, because you actually brought this up on the Hammers Chat group, didn't you, Steve, about Moyes, and because it was Bill Kenwright, and I'm a little bit confused because I'm like, well, Bill Kenwright can want what he wants, and yes, he's the Everton chairman, but really and truly, the guy that is the power broker at Goodison Park is Farhad Moshiri, who owns Everton Football Club.
Yep. But he's made an absolute pig's ear of it, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, getting in Ancelotti, getting in Benitez, getting in Lampard. I mean, for one reason or another. I mean, I actually thought that Ancelotti did a decent enough job, but he was given an absolute bucket load of cash, which he pissed away, really, when you look at it now. And an absolute train wreck behind for the two managers that have subsequently followed him.
I agree with Andy there, though. I mean, I don't think Potter's got long at Chelsea now.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, everybody's saying that. The only thing I would counter with, and listen, it's a results-based business, and it's not. If you're a Chelsea fan, you'd say it's not good enough. It's not what we've been used to over the last 20 years. The difference is that over the last 20 years, you were owned by Roman Abramovich. You are now owned by Todd Boehly, and this guy was brought in by Todd Boehly. So he may well operate in a slightly different fashion than Abramovich did. So he might get a bit more time than maybe we're all expecting. Who knows?
I tell you what, I'd have Potter tomorrow, though. I really would.
Yeah, me too.
The fact that it hasn't worked out, or doesn't look like it's working out at Chelsea, but Chelsea is a poison chalice, really, isn't it? How many managers have found their graveyard at Chelsea? Loads of them.
This I agree with.
I think Fornals is the missing link.
This I agree with.
I think
his energy is absolutely, his moving around the pitch, sort of buzzing around, flying, putting in challenges and just hunting lost causes and all the rest of it. I think he is so important. And I think that, I'll be honest, I think it needs to be Thomas Souček that's dropped out to accommodate Pablo Fornals, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I would as well. But then I've also would like to see Flynn Downs play a bit more, because the one thing that was highlighted the other day was, we're playing one-touch football. It gets so... Sorry about that. Yeah, we play one-touch football. We get Souček and it breaks down. If you've got Flynn Downs on the pitch, it doesn't break down, because he passes the ball quickly. Now, how good Flynn Downs is going to become remains to be seen. I think he's bought as a Deck replacement ultimately. Do I think he'll be as good as Deck? Probably no, I don't. I think Deck's
very few players that I think have got to be at that level.
Though, I mean, I'm getting tired of talking about Deck, to be honest, because it seems to be the topic every day. Is Deck going to Arsenal? Is Deck going to Chelsea? Is Deck going to City? Frankly, I don't care. I know he's going to go. Where he goes is completely irrelevant to me. I'm
with that, Kent. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. 4-3-3, job done. Job done. Another 50p, says Mr. Walsh. Right. Do you fancy, since you've made the journey here, Steve, and I'll tell you what, I'm just going to plug our social media platforms for anyone that's into those, and then we're going to get into the player ratings, old son.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in the live chat, please get involved in this one in the live chat. Put in your prediction, your predictions, your player ratings, please. There we go. Right. Okay. So the first one that I'm going to get involved with. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Just a moment. It hasn't. I'm going to press the wrong. I'm about to press the wrong button. So please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. You'd like to think that after all this time, I know what I'm doing roughly, but every now and again I lost that. Right, there we go. There he is. So the first person we're going to speak about is Lucas Fabianski. Now, I appreciate, Steve, that you didn't see that much of the match, and I'm asking you a question based upon highlights. So you guys in the live chat, probably if you were also moored up in the south of France, you might also have an opinion on Lucas Fabianski's performance. Please put it in the live chat and we'll get it up on the screen. So, Steve, what did you make of Lucas Fabianski's performance with having to deal with one shot on target in the 90?
Well, it's very difficult. I didn't see much of what Fabianski did at all. But on the basis he kept a clean sheet, it's got to be a 7, hasn't it? Didn't let a goal in. That's all you can ask from your keeper.
Yep.
So 7 for me.
I think I'm going to give him a 6, so I'm not a million miles away from you. I just think that, what did he do, really? I mean, I think he made one save, which obviously was the shot on target from memory. I think that he did have something to do, but just like, oh yeah. Other than that, I mean, it was a pretty Fabianski-esque performance, if I'm being honest. It was he gets the ball, and you're sitting there going, just release it. There's people that are sort of like on the break, and he'll sort of like go to release it, and then, oh no, they don't really want to do that. I think that the loss of Areola was actually quite. I mean, obviously, it didn't affect the fact that we got a clean sheet. It didn't affect the fact that we are now in the 4th round and we've got a tie against Derby County to come. I do think that he would have helped as far as the counter attack is concerned. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that the fact that his distribution, his speed of distribution, as well as his accuracy of his distribution, will be a massive benefit to us in certain games. As far as their shot stopping abilities are concerned, probably not an awful lot between them. Fabianski might be superior in that regard, but it's a pretty sort of small differential, whereas in terms of their distribution, the differential is quite large, I would suggest. But just got a few people in the chat. They're getting their toothpenneth in. Hammerhead says 5. Hope he's now the cup goalkeeper. I don't think he is. I think that if Areola hadn't have got the injury, then I think that Areola plays. The reason that he didn't play was simply because of the injury that he got in the warm-up, which meant that Fabianski had to go between the sticks and Darren Randolph was the bench goalkeeper. John says he was a 6. Kent Hammers, he says, and that 3 in midfield gets the best out of Paqueta. Yes, agreed with that, Kent. David says he's giving him a 6, which is the score that I'm going to give him. Pete says 6, and is that you giving him a 1, Kent? I don't know. Troj says he got a clean sheet. He did indeed. Hodgie says he's a 6. Troj says he's a 6. Dean's Life says Fab 6. Areola needs to take over now, though. Absolutely, I agree. A polished performance. Boom, boom. Very good, Peter. Kent says he's going to abstain from player ratings. He didn't see enough. No, that's fair, mate. No problem at all. Paul comes in and says Fab got a 6. Did what he needed to do after a great game at Leeds. Great game. Well, he made 2 fantastic saves at the end. Was it a great game aside from that? No, but then again, I suppose he preserved the point, so job done in that regard. Hammer says reaction time. Fab is a lot slower. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Each to their own. Right. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. So the next player that I would like to run the rule over was the guy that was playing as the left centre back in a back 3. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Naya Gerd. What did you think, ladies and gentlemen?
From what I saw, he was quality again, wasn't he? I'll give him an 8. The difference in our defence when he's there against when he's not is so marked. You saw it in the Leeds game. His covering, his distribution, very accomplished on the ball.
He's a footballing centre back, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, I think I didn't realise how big a miss he was until I've seen him play. I was surprised Moyes started him actually, considering we've got the game against Wolves. I would have thought he wanted to keep him wrapped up in cotton wool, but what do I know?
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Because I suppose he probably wants to protect him to a degree, but at the same time, he fundamentally needs a little bit of miles on the clock. He needs to get used to the Premier League pace. Now, yes, this wasn't a Premier League match. I get that, but it was against a Premier League team. So,
yeah,
it's one of those.
I'll give him an 8 because he makes such a difference.
Fair. I'm going to concur with that. I'm going to also give him an 8. I thought he looked very solid and composed when he was on defensive detail, and I thought when he had the ball at his feet and we were looking to sort of come forward with it, I thought that he looked calm and assured, and his distribution was on point. So I agree. I think that he gets an 8 from me, and I think that. Surely the only way is up. He's going to get fitter. He's going to get used to the pace of the Premier League, the physicality, and hopefully, touch wood, he can steer clear of injuries and form a good partnership, probably with Kurt Zouma, as a back 2 centre back, or maybe 3 centre backs, who knows. But Hodgie goes on, he says he's also giving him an 8. Trudge says 7, come out with the ball a few times from the back. So David gives him a 7. Hammerhead also gives him a 7. We know. Sonny Perkins scored the equaliser for Leeds United. Wouldn't you just know it? That is, typical. But we're not going to get onto that too much. It's this is not the time. Dean's Life says 7. Brentford didn't offer that much in attack. That is true, but to be fair, again, he can only play against what's put in front of him, and the reasons behind that. If Ivan Toney's got an injury, quite frankly, that's not his problem. So we got to judge him on the basis of that. Pete says he's a 7. Paul says 7, solid 7 at that. It calms those around him. Absolutely. If you've got a good back line, and that includes the goalkeeper, if they're all sort of calm and assured and they all trust each other, I think your chances of getting the 3 points or progression into the cup in this case are looking very, very good. But that's as far as that's concerned. We'll move on, and the next one.
I'll call something about a Gerd now. I reckon he'll be captain when Rice leaves.
Do you?
I think he's got that air about him.
Okay.
I think he'd possibly make a good captain now, but there's no way Rice is going to have the armband taken off him, is there?
I wonder. I mean, obviously that depends on. Look, let's not muck about. It depends on who's the manager next season. That's the first thing. I suppose also the other elephant in the room. It depends on if we're a championship club. Does he have some sort of clause in his contract that says that he's got to be released at a certain fee? Who knows? So, and the other thing also is, are you going to give the club captaincy to a player who has something of a questionable injury record? I'm not entirely convinced that would be the way to go. I know maybe in terms of, his on-field generalship, it might be that he's in the conversation, but I do think that if you've got a player that's going to be missing games here and there, I don't see you can give them the armband myself. You need to have a captain that's got a bit more robustness. But
there
you go. Just my opinion. Yep. Right. So the next one we're going to run the rule over is Mr. Angelo Ogbonna. Now, obviously, this Angelo is. I mean, for a year now he's been out of action. Obviously, yes, he's come back at the beginning part of this season. He's played in Europa Conference League games. Different animal to playing Premier League games or, yes, FA Cup games against Premier League opposition. But how do you think he did?
Thing with Oggy is, I think his legs are well on the way out, but he does read the game well. Another good game. Again, part of a back line that clipped a clean sheet, so I'm going to give him a 6. I think it was a decent performance.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I think, yeah, 6. I don't think it was anything special. I don't think he was on the same level as the guy that was playing to his immediate left in Nayafagerd, or Nathan, if you want to call him that. I mean, that's what David Moyes calls him, so why not? This is a guy we can't call Moisey. Anyway, back in the room. Yeah, I'd say a 6 is probably a fair mark. I thought he was okay. The only thing that concerns me with Oggy is how is he going to cope when he's got a player bearing down on him, someone with rapid pace. Now, Ivan Toney would have been someone that I think if he'd have been one-on-one with Ogbonna, and this is an Angelo Ogbonna that's 34, 35 now, and he had his ligament injury during the course of last season in the Liverpool game. How do I think he would cope with that? Not very well, I think.
No,
that's where I think that possibly he could come unstuck, but he didn't have Ivan Toney to deal with yesterday. So he did what he needed to do. Nothing special, nothing. He wasn't sort of drastically bad. I would say 6 is a fair mark. And David comes in and he says that he was a 5.
Okay.
Possibly a tad harsh, David, but you're welcome to your opinion. Peter gives him a 6. Dean's Life also gives him a 6. Hodgie says it's a 6. There's a theme developing here. Pete then goes on to say he's shocked that Oggy has even managed to get back on the pitch. And I don't know whether you're saying that, in a sort of disparaging way, or whether you're more, I think probably more likely, given the fact that his knee was knackered, given the facts of his age, given the fact that his contract were actually, when he got the injury, the contract was actually coming to an end during the course of the end of last season. So he should have been, to all intents and purposes, been out of contract in the summer. But the club did right by him, in fairness, and they offered him a year's extension, which is fair. Hammerhead gives him a 7, and Paul's giving him a 7. There you go. Says he's been class in his time. You don't play for the Azurian defence for no reason. That said, time and injury have caught up with him. Yeah. Fair point. So, we're all sort of giving Oggy sort of roughly a similar sort of mark in, I think, like I say, the worst mark he's got there has been a 5, but I think pretty much everyone else has been a 6, and we had the 7 there. Because his injuries and his age, that's the reason why he's shocked to see him back on the pitch. And I think he's done tremendously well to get himself back into that particular position, Pete. I've got to be honest with you. I completely agree. Okay, so the next one we're going to run the rule over, ladies and gentlemen, is Craig Dawson, who played as the right centre-back. So what did you make of Ballon Dawson?
What I saw of him, I'd give him a 6 as well. It was a solid 3 at the back, with Agur being by far and away the standout. But 6, he's obviously done his job. He's kept a clean sheet. I didn't really see enough of him to say a lot more than that, really, in the highlights I watched. I'll go 6, and that's all I can say, really, based on the overall performance of the defence.
Yeah, I'm torn between a 5 and a 6. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably going to be generous, and I'm probably because we kept a clean sheet, probably because we progressed, and probably because I like Craig Dawson. I'm probably going to give him a 6, but there's a lot of people in the chat that are not quite marking him as well. And to be honest, that's probably an extra mark that I'm giving him out of my sort of admiration for Craig Dawson more than anything else. But David's giving him a 5. Dean's giving him a 5 as well, and makes the observation that he is making a few mistakes. And I can't disagree with that, Dean. I really can't. But he and David goes on to say he's not been good this season. Yeah, I got to say that there's been a few times this season where I have looked at him and thought, oh, he wouldn't have done that last season. But obviously there's certain things that are going on behind the scenes, and he's largely the reason why he wanted to go back home up north in the summer. Maybe it's sort of all getting on top of him. You never know, sort of. But Hammerhead goes on to say, Dawson, time to let him go, 5. And it may well happen this month, mate. It may well happen this month. Hodgie gives him a 5. Oh, Peter, 4. He says he's not been at the races since he's been linked with a move to Wolves. He will score an own goal for Wolves if he plays next week. Oh, that would be horrendous, wouldn't it? That would be horrendous. Paul gives him a 6, same as I gave him. He gives him a 6. It says no frills, and he did his job. And John goes on to say that he got a 5 for him. Sorry, Steve, you were saying?
Yeah, I think he's got the same problem Moggy has. Age has caught up with him. You know, age and time. There's nothing you can do about that. I remember when I was playing football, by the time I was 27, 28, I just wasn't as quick as I was when I was 21, 22. And he's a few years past 28. And I think Kehrer was brought in because he's quick and he's busy. Unfortunately, he's not solid. And I don't know where we go, really. Would I want to see him go? No. But would I be disappointed if he did? No. He's been great for us. He's been an outstanding servant for the club in the short period of time he's been here. And if he goes, he goes. But I'd have nothing but good wishes for him if he did. But I think
fair enough.
I think this might be a season too far for him with us.
Fair dues. Fair dues. Right. Okay. So the next person we're going to run the rule over, Steve, playing as a left wing back, Emerson. What did you make of his performance?
I saw nothing of Emerson, so I really can't score him at all.
Funnily enough, I watched the game and I didn't really see much of him either.
Right, well, fair enough.
So I'm guessing probably the people in the live chat are going to jump in and probably corroborate what I'm saying. As far as Emerson was concerned, I don't think he really did much. Again, probably because, oh, hello, that's an interesting comment. I'd have him back at Chelsea, says Simon. For those of you that are wondering, Simon's an old friend of the channel and he's a Chelsea fan. So we're a broad church. We appeal to many people. We'll take all the waifs and strays in. You'd have him back at Chelsea. My God, I mean, are things that bad there? I'm not being funny, mate. He hasn't ripped up any trees since he's come to the claret and blue half of London. Let me tell you. I mean, I said when we signed him, I said I thought he was a less shit version of Arthur Masuaku, and there's not much in between them, to be fair. But fair enough.
I actually think Emerson's going to come good. I just think it's going to take a bit of time. I've seen bits from Emerson where I think, wow, that is good. He needs a run of games, which he just hasn't had. And for fairly obvious reasons, he hasn't had a run of games. But no, I've got high hopes for him. I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. But, I think there's something there. Look at it this way. If it was a straight choice between Creswell, Kehrer and Emerson to play wing back, it'd be Emerson all day long. Cressy's legs have gone. Kehrer's a liability. He's got to be the best of the three.
Yeah, if we're playing a wing back, he probably is. But it's not setting the bar very high, is it?
No. But, we've known for seasons now, our wing backs, we've needed new wing backs. Have we addressed it? No. So therefore, we're now looking at players and saying, well, you're not a very good wing back. We're giving them a hard time. We knew this 3 seasons ago. We've had plenty of time to deal with it. And the fact that we haven't, I don't blame the player. I blame the management. Should have done something about it. I'm just hoping we get Wan-Bissaka on loan.
Every possibility.
And
every possibility I've heard.
And okay, he's got his faults. I mean, some say his positioning's not good. He's not great going forward, but one-on-one defending, that bloke is unbelievable. And even with the shortcomings in his game, he would be an upgrade on what we've got. So, and then we have to sort the left back out, and the answer clearly isn't Tilo Kehrer. I'm really losing the will to live with my internet tonight. Yeah, the answer isn't Tila Kera, but we do. I think it was Duke who said, and I agree with this, he'd sell Rice and sort of win back positions out with the money we got from Rice. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Fair. Right. Okay. So let's get back on the page with Emerson. We've got John giving him a 6. Dean's Life's giving him a 5. Hodgie says 4. Trudge says he's a 6. Hammerhead says bit of a passenger, didn't do too much. That's exactly how I saw it, Hammerhead. Exactly that. And you've given him the same mark that I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him a 5. Peter's also given him a 5. John says he thought he did okay, wasn't tested too much. Yeah, fair point. Thought he knocked some good balls and had in and cut back, says Trudge. Peter says, when Les leave, will he take the piano with him? Carer needs a carer. Fair, okay. Paul goes on to say Emerson is a 4, a signing who has added nothing and is no upgrade. Happy to see him move on, just a squad body. That is pretty much where I am at with him, to be honest. John says, looking like he was enjoying himself, always smiling. Pete says, all of our players have faults at the moment, whether it's form or injuries. Tell me about it, mate. And he also goes on to agree, if the money was correct, then Rice, bye-bye.
I mean, to be fair, in Emerson's defence, he put over a cracking ball to Souček, didn't he?
Yeah. To be fair, I can't really argue with that one. And you mentioned Thomas Souček, quite by coincidence. He's the next cab off the rank. What did you make of the big check from what you saw?
Didn't see a lot of him. I saw that the thing I did see was that one chance he had, and people were saying he should have put it away. And when I watched it, I thought, no, it's gone just behind him and he's had to take it on the half volley. That was damn difficult.
Got it, Pete. Sorry.
Yes. And I know he got a bit of stick for missing that, but that wasn't easy, that chance. If it had come in front of him, totally different ball game. He should have finished it. But what he had to do with that delivery, just from where it bounced, and now he had to take it, I thought was extremely difficult. I can't really give him a mark again. Didn't see enough of him. It's really difficult with Souček. I just wish we'd play him in his proper position, and I think he'd be a lot better.
Do you think, you obviously saw the opportunity that he had, the chance that he had in the second half. Would the Thomas Souček, in your opinion, 9 times out of 10, 18 months ago, buried that? Because I think he would have done.
No, I think it's 50-50. That's a really difficult ball to get on target, just the way it came to him. I think he'd finish it half of the time, but half of the time I don't think he would. And I don't think there's many players who would. I mean, I'd expect Skamaka to finish it. I'd expect Bowen to finish it. I'd expect Antonio to do a complete air kick. But that was a really difficult finish. Any ball that's behind you trying to take on the half volley, no thanks.
I think 18 months ago, Thomas Souček would have been able to adjust his body position better than he managed yesterday, and I think he would have had a much better. I think that the Thomas Souček of 18 months ago has a significantly greater chance of finishing that opportunity he had yesterday. The Thomas Souček that we've got now, for whatever reason, I think his confidence has been dented. Whether we will ever see the Thomas Souček that we saw in the first 18 months of his West Ham career or not, I'm not entirely convinced.
I think we will when Deck leaves.
Is Souček going to be here? I wonder if they might both go.
Well, yeah, I personally, if Deck leaves, I would hope Souček stays, because then he can play a more natural role. At the moment, he's having to adapt because Deck wants to be box to box.
I did think he was getting forward more
Yeah.
And I made that comment in the Leeds game, is that I thought in the Leeds game he was getting forward more, but just it wasn't, he wasn't sort of making the connection that he, like I say, that 18 months ago, I think he would have made more often than not. And yes, you can have the conversation about, has his confidence been knocked because of the way he's been utilised? But the fact of the matter is that he's a professional footballer. He's there to do his job, and at the minute he isn't doing his job. So
the thing with Souček is you use him as a battering ram,
Hmm.
don't you? And a brick wall. You don't use him in a tippy-tappy, let's knock it round the park kind of way. Souček is, a completely different player to the likes of Paqueta, though I do actually think Paqueta works incredibly hard. I've been very impressed. But no, I think what we're asking him to do is beyond his skill set. If you play him to his skill set, which is challenge for the ball with your head in the box, break up play, do all of that, I think he's still a very good player. But you ask him to do something different, he can't do it. But it's his limitations, I think.
He's not very adaptable.
No. But if you know that, and it's pretty obvious that's the case, why try and adapt him? What on earth are you doing? If you don't play to his strengths, don't expect him to play well.
Fair. Yeah. Right, let's have a look at what the class are saying that they're going to give Thomas Souček. So getting first out of the gate is Troj, gives him a 4. John's giving him a 5. Hodgie's giving him a 4. Peter says, Potato Muncher, sell him if we get the money in, and he gives him a 3. And he goes on to say, Downs over the Potato Muncher for me every game. It's getting like that, isn't it? Dean's Life says 5. Paul Stewart comes in with a 5. His game and confidence has suffered over the last 12 months. Plus, Anonymous, largely, we are not playing in a system that maximises his attributes. Yes, I completely agree with that. And that is on, I think that's on David Moyes. Declan Rice may or may not be part of the reason as well. I mean, everybody's sort of saying about the fact that they're hypothesizing that Declan Rice has gone to David Moyes and said, I want to play more of a box-to-box role. Well, maybe that the conversation did happen. Maybe it didn't. And we're guessing. If it did happen, fair enough. But maybe it was David Moyes that turned around and went, I'll tell you what, Deck, I've got an idea. I don't know. Either way, the end result of whatever's happened is that Thomas Souček is not the player that he was before. And that's very regrettable. I mean, he's still someone that offers something in the middle of the park. He still manages to win his percentage of aerial duels. He'll still manage to win interceptions and tackles and all the rest of it. But, we had a player that 18 months ago was getting 10 goals from deep lying midfield in his first full season as a West Ham player. And somehow or other, the player that we've got is a pale imitation of that, and I'm not entirely convinced that we will ever see that player again, with regret.
But Moyes does this, doesn't he? He makes players worse somehow. I go back to Allaire. He leaves us. The problem you have is David, and I like David Moyes. I think he's done a hell of a lot for the club, and I really want him to turn it round. Let's be clear on that. But he's very rigid.
Yep.
And that is where the problem lies. For someone like Allaire, Moyes' rigid structure just wasn't going to work. But yet you've got a £50 million striker there who you've managed, by being rigid, to devalue by 25 million. And this is what I don't understand, it's been said quite a lot, if Moyes wants to play in a certain way, he should buy the players that will suit that system.
Yep.
And that's where I think we might have got caught out this year. Because the likes of Paqueta, as good as I think he is having you pay 50 million for a player. Surely you work your tactics around what that player can do and what you've seen and what you've paid 50 million for.
Yep.
You don't take him and you then put him in and say, right, I want you to do something different.
What he's doing with Scamacca and Paqueta.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it's. But again, if you turn right now, I think from what I've seen against Leeds and what I've seen against Brentford, I could see it's early days yet, but I could see we could turn the corner from there and start getting enough points to make it a fairly average season, but okay.
Right. Okay, let's get the next player that we're going to run the rule over. The guy with the armband, Mr. Declan Rice. Again, what were your opinions on what you saw yesterday?
Well, the main bit I saw was the tackle that set up Ben Rama's goal.
He gets the assist for that.
Yeah, that was an excellent tackle, you've got to say. But that's really all I saw of him. So, again, I'm going to let people who really saw the game give him a mark, because I don't think I saw enough to give a fair mark on him, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he did all right. Wasn't his best performance. I was about to say in claret and blue, but we didn't wear claret and blue. We wore the Blackpool kit.
Yeah.
Never mind. I know they turn around and say, "Oh no, it's the flames from the furnace. You know, it's our heritage." Blah blah blah. Yeah, that looks like Blackpool, mate. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, he gets the assist. Obviously, he put in a nice crunchy challenge just outside the centre circle. The ball ran for Benny, and he did the rest. I thought it was a decent enough game. I thought that he did what he needed to do. I personally, I think 7. I think it was a 7 out of 10 performance. Just have a little look here. We got Trudge. He's come in. He's given him a 6. He says at times he was not on Paqueta's wavelength, and I suppose, yeah, that there were times when I looked and thought, but no, I think that there's a little bit of an understanding that I can see is developing. It's still in its infancy, and there'll still be times when maybe they miscommunicate or misunderstand. I don't know. I've got no idea how good Lucas Paqueta's English is. I've got literally no clue whatsoever. But I think there is starting to be a little bit of an understanding there. Dean's Life goes on to say he was a 7, and he makes the observation that he looks lonely at times with absolutely no support. Yeah, he's our best player. He's our best player, and you know he sometimes drives the teams forward. He really does look a good player, but I know what you're saying. Hodgie gives him an 8. Very, very high praise indeed. However, we go from one end of the spectrum to another and says that he's a 5, not the same as the last 2 seasons, and shouldn't be captain seeing as he's off. And that's an interesting one. I mean, there was an interview that, and I don't know whether you saw it, Steve, Gonzo did with Georgie Paris about 2 weeks ago now.
No, I didn't see it.
He asked the question about, you know, how do you think players view, and I appreciate that George Paris is from an era that no longer exists. He didn't really sort of play in the Premier League era, and certainly not in the last 10, 15 years. But he just turned around and said, look, if that sort of situation comes up, I think you just sort of get on with it, sort of thing, really. If you know that a player's off, it's like, so long as they're putting everything in on the pitch, that's all that should matter. And to be honest with you, I don't really see that his performances are markedly worse. Listen, there's games this season where I think that he's not been at the same level as maybe I've got used to seeing him at. But there could be a multitude of reasons for that. It could be that maybe, like I say, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, maybe becoming a father for the first time has had an impact. I mean, you and I both know that is massive change in your life.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the moment your child's born, your life is never the same again.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
all your priorities change in that instance. Yeah.
Paul says he's a 7. That's the mark that I'm going to give him. So it's standard for him. But we should be planning for life post Declan. No one is bigger than the club. I think he's off in the summer. I think that the smart money on is saying that he's off in the summer, and that's fine so long as he puts in everything that he can. And there are going to be games where he's not going to look the best. There's going to be some games where it might not be pretty, but I think that if you can look at a Premier League season and turn around and say that he was, and he has been one of our best players this season, even in a poor season for the club, even for maybe a season that isn't at the same level as we've seen over the previous 4 or 5 seasons, he's still been one of our better players this season. Without him, we'd have been screwed. Him and Ben Rama.
Yeah. But I will say this, and and I know I'm probably in the minority of one, but I've said it all along. I don't think he's going to cut it, or it's not going to go as easily for him as he expects at a bigger club. I think, he's a brilliant player for us, but he looks outstanding for us, largely because we're not as good as, say, someone like City. It's easy to look outstanding for us. I don't know what it is. I think he's a brilliant player, but I just don't think it's going to happen for him if he moves, particularly if he goes somewhere like City, to be honest.
Fair. Lucas Paquetá. Now, something surprised me. I looked at his stats in the game yesterday, and I appreciate that you only saw the highlights, so this might not be something that you're aware of. But I wouldn't expect someone who was touted, rightly or wrongly, as Brazil's number 10, which he isn't, but that's how he was touted. He made 6 tackles yesterday.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Quite incredible. Incredible.
I think once that bloke really gets a handle on Premier League football, he's going to be outstanding for us. We were there in Spurs game the first time he came on, weren't we? And I said to you after the game, boy, does he work hard. He wanted the ball, he chased, he did it, he did everything. And from that moment, I thought, no, you've got a good attitude. You want to do well. And I think he's a great player. I don't think he's fully up to the pace of the Premier League yet. But then again, against Leeds, I thought that was the best game he'd had for us.
Agreed.
And I think he's going to get better. It's like Scamacca. I think Scamacca's going to get better. But Moyes has been saying all along, and I thought, oh, come on. But I'm beginning to see he's right now. It takes a while to adjust. In bed for some time for me now, providing the poop machine stays asleep.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
On the basis he made 6 tackles, and
I think his passing success was about 82% from memory, which it's not earth-shattering, but decent enough.
Yeah, give him a 7. I mean, he made a big contribution with those tackles from those stats. That makes a hell of a difference when you've got one of your attacking players working that hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So Troj, he's given him a 7, which is actually the mark that I'm also going to give him. I thought he was very good yesterday, and as Steve said, I think that he's still got room for improvement. And Troj says that he worked so hard. Absolutely, he did. Pete goes on to say he's also a 7, but he does make the observation that he says he needs to calm down at times as he could get sent off. Fair point. Maybe it's that Latino temperament. Troj goes on and makes the observation, says that he thinks he got tired and made some bad passes in the second half about Lucas Paquetá. And Troj is also agreeing with the bit about the getting sent off. Yeah, I think he'll hopefully with games and getting used to the Premier League and what you can and can't get away with. I think that he'll be okay, hopefully. But
No.
he did it a few times, in fairness. But Dean's Life goes on to say he's a 7 as well, and says that he is getting better each game. Yes, I completely agree. So it'd be interesting to see what he does against Wolves. Hopefully he can keep that momentum up. He's had obviously the Leeds game, good performance. He's had this game, good performance. So hopefully that bodes well for the future. Troj says he can't really tackle English style, but he pressures so much. True, absolutely. I think we need Fornals alongside him to pressure in the pack, though. Yeah, 100% agree, mate. I like I say, the one I would drop out would be Thomas Souček. I'd put Lucas Paquetá. If you want to go 4-2-3-1, then you put Lucas Paquetá alongside Declan Rice, and you tell Declan to hold. You tell him, hold right there, and you put Ben Rama on the left, you put Fornals in the middle, you put Bowen on the right, and Scamacca up top. If you want to go 4-2-3-1, which David Moyes may well do. If you want to go 4-3-3, then you go Declan Holding of the 3, and you put Paquetá and Fornals as the 2 central mids. Job done.
The one thing I'll say on the Fornals topic is I really wish we could take the shackles off him a bit and not just see him as a workhorse, because he's a hell of a ball player. I mean, he really is. And if you put that work rate with that level of passing skill and insight, I mean, a classic example was the goal he scored against Leicester last season. Comes from miles over his head. He takes it down with one touch and knocks it in the back, runs on, knocks it in the back of the net. That first touch was sublime.
Yeah.
And that's my real I love Fornals. I think he's brilliant. But my real disappointment is he's had the creativity knocked out of him. And I think,
and again, that's on Moyes.
Yeah.
Charlie makes the observation, rather than Paquetá not being up to speed yet, I don't think his teammates are up to speed with his footballing brain yet. And it could be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And he goes on to say that especially the techniqueless ones, such as Ben Johnson, Antonio, and the lamppost Souček. Fair point. Just before we go on to the next one that we're going to run the rule over, Kent makes the comment here. Steve, what do you think about this? He's heard that, and I'm guessing when he says Diaz, I'm guessing it's Ben Brereton Diaz and not Luis Diaz that you're talking about, because he says £20 million in January. He was last season with 6 months on his deal. How excited if we managed to get Ben Brereton Diaz in, and bear in mind what he obviously did against us in the Carabao Cup in November, would this be a player that would excite you coming in? I mean, I think that it's fairly safe to say that given the struggles that we've had in terms of converting the chances that we've created, I think he would certainly be bolstering our ranks in that department. Do you think?
Oh yeah, I'd love to see him in, but pigs will fly before we pay 20 million for a player with 6 months left on his contract. I mean, and to be fair, I get why we wouldn't. If at the end of the season we stay in the Premier League, we might be able to get him on a free.
How many? You say that he's done nothing and scored no goals. How many games have they played? Because obviously we had the World Cup in between. So I mean, how many games did they play from that goal being scored at London Stadium to right here, right now? I mean, what are we talking? 5 games, 6 games? And did he get any assists? I mean, is he completely no goal involvements whatsoever? I mean, look, I think that Ben Brereton Diaz will add something. I really do, but we'll see. The only thing I will say is be careful, because the last forward strike that Blackburn had went for an awful lot of money to Southampton, and he hasn't exactly ripped it up. So, but I mean, it was 6 months. We can probably get him for a half decent price if you do your negotiations properly. Paul comes in. He's a little bit late to the party on Paquetá, but he says he's giving him a 7. He says we just need to play him and Scamacca in the right formation and personnel around him. He is adapting. We all expected a Payet-esque start at West Ham. He can be sublime.
Yeah. Going back to the forward thing, what we need to do, and by all accounts, Nobes has found somebody in French football, I was reading, who's a striker. Now, whether Moyes will take him or not, I don't know. But we need to uncover another Diafra Sakho. I mean, what you wouldn't give to have prime Sakho in that team now? He was we got Valencia and Sakho together, and Valencia came with a big reputation, and Sakho, nobody knew about him. He was a great goal scorer. And if we could get someone like that, I think that would be brilliant. Mind you, you don't get many Diafra Sakhos, do you? The way we do, but
no,
someone like that would be perfect.
Yeah, fair. Right, let's get on with. We've got another 3 of the starters left to plough through, and this is the guy that played at right wing back. Now, again, I appreciate you only have the highlights to go on, and maybe some reports and the radio commentary, whatever. But did you feel that Ben Johnson, as a right wing back, did himself justice, or do you think that he left you feeling that maybe he's not the answer there?
I can safely say on this one, I haven't got a clue.
Charlie. Okay.
Not a Scooby Doo.
Well, I'll tell you what. In that case, if you can't sort of really add anything as far as that's concerned, do you think? And this was a question that I managed to get put to George Paris on that stream that Gonzo did about 2 weeks or so ago. Do you think that his versatility, because obviously George Paris was a player of great versatility back in the day, he played in midfield, played at right back, played at left back, played all over the park.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Do you think that the fact that Ben Johnson has that same quality, that same adaptability, that same versatility, do you think that that's counting against him?
Yeah, I do. The problem he's got is he can't make a position his own, can he? Oh, we're short here. Right, we'll play him at centre back. Oh, he's, left back. We're struggling a bit at left back. We'll put him there. Oh, we'll have him right wing back. I don't know when I watch Johnson if I think he's a really good player or he's bloody awful. I just can't, excuse my language for anybody watching. Oh, he's after the watershed. But I can't work out whether he's good or he's somebody you just shoe in to do a job. I find him a really confusing player.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him have some superb performances and I've seen him have absolute...
Charlie, I'm going to have to ask you for a score. I can't put down that there's more technique in a burnt cottage pie than there is in Ben Johnson's feet as a score. Humorous though it is, and there is an element of me that actually can sort of like go, yeah, I can see why that you might say, but I need a score. I need a score out of 10, mate. And even if it's 0, please feel free. Dean's Life has given him the princely sum of 4, but he goes on to say that he is hoping it was just his lack of play this season. Now, here's the thing. I do wonder if the fact that Ben Johnson's not signing the contract, he's got 2 years, as I understand, left to run, and he's been offered an extension. He isn't signing it. Negotiations have broken down. Is this the Harrison Ashby scenario all over again? Oh, he's not going to sign, is he? Okay, well, I'm basically not. He's persona non grata. I'm just what he gets, he'll have to be happy with. Isn't doing it with Declan Rice, interestingly enough, but
very different ball game with Deck, though. I mean,
yeah, only because he's worth more money to the club.
Absolutely. And from what I understand about Ashby, he's upset quite a few of the senior pros. He's not very popular at all.
Okay.
That's what I read. And if that's the case, I can see why Ashby's going. Johnson not signing a new contract. I don't think it's that. He's a good utility player from what I've seen. You know, if you're in trouble in the position, you can put him there, he'll do a job. Whether that's enough to take us forward to where ultimately we're aiming to go, I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever be much more than the squad player. Really difficult because I like the lad.
Because he's a homegrown lad and he's a West Ham fan and he's been at the club for such a long time. I think that most West Ham fans probably in their heart of hearts want him to succeed, but...
Absolutely. Is he going to cut it?
Troz just says there, he comes across as a top lad in the press. He does. You so want him to succeed. You so want him to nail down a starting berth in a regular position, whether that's right back, whether that's right wing back, whether that's as a centre back in a 3 or a 2, or whether it's central midfield, wherever it might be that David Moyes puts him somewhere, gives him a run of games and says, no, that's your position and I'm not going to shunt you around. I mean, he doesn't do it with Declan Rice. He doesn't do it with pretty much every other player. He sort of like, he says, that's your role. You fulfill that. Whereas Ben Johnson, it's like, moves him around. And I don't think that helps him. I really don't.
I'd play him left back myself at the moment.
I would. In fact, I said at the beginning of the season, I would look to make him the number 1 left back and make Cresswell his understudy, but that's not going to happen. But there you go. Anyway, Peter in Chelmsford says 5, makes the observation that he's been messed about big time by Moyes. Exactly what we've just been discussing, mate. You're on the same page as me.
Yeah.
Best he moves where he can play one position and do well elsewhere. Yeah. Rather be a sort of like a sort of master of your trade rather than a jack of all trades. Paul goes on to say he's a 6. Says he's a steady Eddie utility player, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, exactly. Trod says he's a 6. Got forward well, but can't cross. Yeah, absolutely. Goes on to say that Kufal was crossing the ball in the rain like a Brazilian versus Leeds. Yeah, Kufal did look good against Leeds, I got to say. Charlie's given him a score. 2. 1 for tying each bootlace correctly.
Oh,
that's harsh. Harsh.
Do you know,
Goes on to say... Sorry, Steve?
Yeah, I might be, wildly off beam here, but I don't think Charlie was impressed with Johnson's performance.
I got a funny feeling he might not have been.
No.
He goes on to say, personally, I think if he's going to have a top-level career at West Ham or otherwise, he's going to have to be a no-nonsense centre-back where he can get away with a lack of football technique. Ouch. And I agree with that statement. I mean, he played left-back in the away leg against Leon, and I thought he was excellent that night. I really do. But
yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like I say, I want Ben Johnson to get a run in the team in whatever position it is that he would like to, whichever position that he feels that he's going to give the best version of himself for the West Ham faithful, rather than being shunted around here, there, and everywhere. So there you go. Right, so the next one we're going to run the rule over. We played a front 2. The first player, that was Mr. Jared Bowen. Again, of what you saw of the match, Steve. What did you think?
7, much improved, actually. He's sort of coming back into a bit of form.
Yeah.
Start of the season, he was woeful for whatever reason. We were both crying out for him to be dropped, weren't we? Because
yes.
he was very, very
him and Solskjaer were the ones.
But it's been much better, so I'm going to give him a 7. The bit I saw, I liked. Yeah, so there you go, 7 for me, and I'm pleased to see he's coming back in some sort of form. I think not going to the World Cup has probably done us a big favour. So
I'd agree with that. Possibly the rest, possibly also. I wonder whether the fact that he missed out has now given him a little bit of a fire in the belly to maybe go out and prove a point, A, to David Moyes and the West Ham faithful, but B, to Gareth Southgate for leaving him out. How dare you leave me out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he's great when he's on form. He's great for us. Let's be honest. He's one of our better players. But you can't just single him out and say it's been a poor season for him. It's been a poor season for all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and we keep going, well, he hasn't had a great season. Well, you can level that at every single player on the pitch. But his form's turning round. I can see the team's form turning round a bit. And yeah, I'm pleased because Bowen firing on all four cylinders is a handful. So yeah, I'll give him 7.
Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. I thought he looked busy. I think the only thing that was missing was a goal or an assist. But I think he's beginning to look like the Bowen that we had last season, that version of Jared Bowen. He's still got a little way to go. He's not quite there yet, but he's on the upward trajectory, and I'm hoping that he can keep that going. So whatever Danny Dyer's feeding him at home, I hope that continues to be put on the plate, whatever it is. Dean's Life gives him a 6. Fair enough. Trodge gives him a 7 and says Bowen only did as well as he wasn't against Rico Henry, who always owns him. That is a fair point, but again, you can only judge Bowen against who he's put against, and it's not his problem that Rico Henry wasn't involved in that respect. But fair enough. Peter goes on to say too much bonking. Bowen 6 needs to go get back on track. There's no such thing as too much, Pete. Not enough, maybe, but too much. You can never have too much of it, mate. Let me tell you that. Bess comes in with a 6. Charlie comes in. He says 6 for me. Looked promising at times. One howler of a miss. Not that I've seen the highlights back, but it looked like a howler. Desperately needs a goal to get him going again. Or what he's feeding her. There you go. Paul comes in, he gives him a 7 and says, also improved against Leeds. Yes, agreed. He's been like the invasion of the body snatchers this season. Will the real Bowen step forward? If West Ham United play well, then Bowen does. Not inspirational, though, like Rice. Go like Rice. Okay, cool. No problem. Right. Okay, so that's Mr. Bowen taken care of. So we've only got one of the starting lineup that's yet to run the rule over, and that is this man here. Beast mode, Antonio, or was this more, do you think, like the can't hit a cow's ass with a banjo version of Michail Antonio from what you saw? Oh, have we lost Steve?
No, I'm back. I have returned.
Okay.
Beast mode Antonio, didn't see enough of him, so I can't really comment.
I think a lot of people that watch the game would probably say, yeah, that's about right.
No, I just didn't see enough in the highlights of anything he did.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a typical Antonio performance this season, there'll be a lot of running around, a lot of falling over the ball, a lot of falling over himself, a lot of trying to win very, very questionable decisions on his behalf. But that's just what I'm assuming he did. I can't comment. I mean, Charlie said he was in Barbie mode, so I guess I'm not a million miles off.
Yeah, I don't know where the beast mode Antonio is hiding at the minute, because again, a bit like Thomas Souček, it's where's the player that you used to be? I mean, all right, I know that he's not a striker in terms of sort of like his formative years as a player, and relatively recently he made the conversion. I mean, what was it, 18 months, 2 years ago that he was played as a number 9 by David Moyes for the first time, ahead of Sebastian Haller, round about the time of lockdown, wasn't it? Just after after the pandemic, sort of like the restart. He was played as a striker then, and that was he started. He was very unorthodox. He was just an absolute handful. I mean, you never knew what he was going to do, which was kind of a strength and a weakness, because it was like, how do the players around him, if Michail Antonio probably doesn't know what he's about to do, so how the hell anyone else can read it is quite difficult. But this version of Michail Antonio, I'm looking at and going, why? What's happened here? I mean, he's come out and turned around and said he's unhappy with the fact that he's not the starting striker anymore in the Premier League, so it seems, and Gianluca Scamacca has taken that role. Well, here's a little thing, Mickey. When you get an opportunity like yesterday, you might want to take it, because if you want to try and put pressure on David Moyes to choose you ahead of Gianluca Scamacca, or maybe alongside Gianluca Scamacca, perhaps, then maybe when you get an opportunity in a cup game, you might want to do a little bit better than you did yesterday, mate, because that was poor. I personally, 4 for me. I'm going to give him a 4. Listen, he tried his best, but his best ain't good enough anymore. And I don't know, looking here, I'm not alone. This isn't an unfair criticism. If it was, then I'd be miles away. But here it is from Pete. He gives him a 3, and he says sell him or pay him off in the summer. Depends on what league we're in, but that's another story, Pete. Trodge says 5. Dean's Life goes and says Antonio is a shadow of his former self. Also gives him a 4. And he'd play Mubama over him now, who was obviously on the bench yesterday, didn't come on, which I found a little bit disappointing. I mean, David Moyes, one thing, look, we won, but one thing that kind of disappointed me is that when, with 4 minutes of the game left to go, he brought Antonio off, didn't he? And brought on that wonderful striking talent known as Pablo Fornals. Go figure. Poor Divine Mubama sitting on the bench. Give me 4 minutes, boss. It's the 86 minutes. Let me have a little run around. No. You sit there. I'm going to have this hard-working Spaniard coming on instead. And I love Pablo Fornals, as I've said, but that would have been an opportunity for him. Bez says not good enough. So don't have to apologise, Bez. No apologies required if it's your honest opinion. And to be fair, we're pretty much all in agreement because we're all giving similar marks. And Bez gives a 4. Goes on to say he doesn't like the rain. Hard to turn a train on the grass. Fair enough. Peter goes on to make the observation. Jamaica has ruined him with all the beer can sandwiches he eats out there. Yeah. Think about it in a Jamaican accent. If anyone's looking at that going, beer can, think about it in a Jamaican accent and the penny hopefully will drop. 2 slippery, 1 leech the beast. But Charlie goes on to say, that being said, it wasn't his worst performance, but he'd give him a 3 for doing a few semi-fast runs. Good God.
I'd like to see him played out on the wing again. Now
might be an option, perhaps. I'm not going to give marks to either Flynn Downs or to Pablo Fornals. As I say, they came on in the 86th minute as a double substitution. But I will allow you, and guys at home, because this is probably the one that you really want to give a marking to, and that is the genius known as Mr. Saeed Benrahma, who came on in minute 69, scored the only goal of the game in minute 79, which progressed us to the next stage of the cup. Before you do, Steve, I'll just quickly get this one out of the way because Paul's jumped in a little bit later than I was expecting, but he gives Antonio a 6. Bloody hell. I've given him an extra point because I like him, kind of like what I did with Craig Dawson, I suppose. Needs extra Weetabix in his brekkie bowl. He's been great for us, but he's now a squad player unless he proves otherwise. And that's exactly what I'm saying, Paul. He was complaining about being put behind Scamacca in the pecking order. And it's like, well, you didn't really do anything in your performance yesterday, which will probably make David Moyes think that particular order of things is incorrect. But anyway, back to Saeed Benrahma.
I'm going to give him a 9. Came on, changed the game.
Wow.
Came on, changed the game, scored the goal, We looked like a different attacking force when he came on. Yeah, outstanding. In my opinion, should have started. Wish he'd started. But yeah, he just made the difference. He was brilliant yesterday. And yeah, I'm going to give the bloke a 9. I think
give him a 9. Okay,
I,
I'm not going to go quite as OTT as that. Not that I'm a million miles away from you. To be fair, listen. He was on the pitch for what 21 minutes, pretty much. But he had a crucial involvement in our progression. I'm going to give him an 8. I thought he was bright, he was breezy, he was energetic, and fundamentally he got the goal which advanced us into the hat. And Bez has agreed with you and says, I love this man, and gives him a 9. Troj gives him the same score that I've given him, gives him an 8. Peter really gives him a 7, really, for the goal. Troj also says, but he got lucky. Listen, you make your own luck in life, mate. Dean's Life says, Benny gets a 7. Worldy of a goal, but passing could have been better. Fair enough. Fair observation. Troj says 9 times out of 10 the keeper catches that. Yeah, but the 1 time out of 10 was yesterday, so that's all well and good as far as that's concerned. Charlie, who was there at the ground, says, I'll give Benny an 8. Changed the game and won us the tie, so can't ask for much more. Some poor decisions on the ball and gave the ball away a few times, but at least he tried to make something happen. Peter makes the observation, poor keeping for the goal. Yes, it absolutely was. It was poor goalkeeping. I know that the conditions might have played a part, but I do think that fundamentally the goalkeeper should have been able to do better than he did. He just sort of, I'm not very impressed with that. And then Paul comes in, says he gives him same score as you, Steve. Gives him a 9, says he scored an absolute cracker, offers genuine goal and attacking threat, puts the ball into the net, which is what it's all about. Absolutely is. So I think we can all agree that Saeed Benrahma, as far as the players that took to the pitch yesterday, is probably... and in fact, I'm now going to turn my attention on to... I'll tell you what, in case there's anybody watching that hasn't clocked it, on the YouTube channel, if you're not watching on YouTube, so you're watching on Twitter, you're watching on Facebook or any other platform, there is a man of the match poll that is ongoing at the minute. I am going to close it in about 60 seconds. So please feel free to get over there and have your say on who you believe the man of the match should be. Benrahma, Aguerd, Paquetá and Rice are the candidates. So please get yourself across there because I will be closing it very, very imminently. So there is only one person really that we need to mark, Steve, and that is this gentleman here, and his name is David Moyes. What do you think about the Scottish tactical mastermind that is Mr. David Moyes?
I'm going to give him it's really close between 6 and a 7. I'm going to give him a 7. I'll tell you why. Because he's actually tried to change something up in the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an attritional performance, which is what we needed. We saw it against Leeds. The players really went out and went for it. And, they were, unlike against Arsenal, our players stood up and were counted. And I thought they stood up and counted pretty much yesterday. So obviously something's happened. I find it interesting it's in conjunction with Noble being back at the club. But,
yes,
I'm sure that has an impact on it.
Do you think that the sad passing of David Gold might have also given the players and the coaching staff maybe an extra spur, an extra incentive for them to get the team advancing into the next round of the cup? Do you think that was a weapon that maybe we could use, that out of adversity, out of a tragedy could come, this is for David Gold sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, out of the board members, I'm not classing Kaczynski in this. David Gold was the one I really liked. I always thought he had the club's best interests at heart, and I always thought he was a decent chap. The other two, they are what they are, but I thought David Gold was genuine. So, yeah, I think his passing has probably had a very, very big impact on a lot of people because he was there, he was present with the team, wasn't he? He put the effort in. So, yeah, I think David Gold combined with Nobes. Somebody said, I think a stream we did, we won't appreciate what Noble did until Noble goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first half of this season, Noble hasn't been there, and look at the difference.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give Moisey a 7 because we actually won it. And I think that was, although I didn't think this game was important, now we've got the win. I think it's hugely important because it will build confidence.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, Trodge says here we did win away versus our bogey team. Well, you say a bogey team, Trodge. I'm not quite sure they're our bogey team. I would say Brighton are our bogey team. I mean, Brentford, fair enough, in the 3 previous games that we'd played since their promotion to the Premier League. But I'm not quite sure that you could turn around and say 3 defeats makes it a bogey, makes it some sort of a hex. I would say that because I think what is Brighton on now is about 8 or 9 games where we haven't beaten them. That's a bogey team, mate. That's something that needs sorting out. So I'm not quite sure I would categorize them yet as our bogey team, but I know what you're angling at. See, I don't know how to score him on this one. I mean, we won, so I guess that I should give him praise as far as that's concerned. Job done. But 1 shot on target in the whole match, and that came on minute 79, which was obviously the goal. You could probably give him a bit of credit for making the substitution, which obviously turned the game in our favour. Mr. Walsh makes the point, and I will get that up on the screen because it is a very pertinent point. It has to be noted that we were playing a second string Brentford. Benny got a slice of good fortune to get the goal and subsequently digging Moyes out of a hole. That is absolutely true. The other thing also that kind of frustrates me is that he gave, on the 86th minute, that double substitution. I mean, his use of substitutions generally really winds me up. Like I say, yes, he made a substitution which turned the match. Fantastic. But let's be completely honest about it. More often than not, his substitutions are more in reaction to what has happened on the pitch, usually because we've gone a goal down or something like that. That he's not a proactive manager in terms of his substitutions. He's reactive. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like I say, on the 86th minute, he takes off 2 players in Michail Antonio and Lucas Paquetá. Antonio was having a stinker. Got no problems with him coming off. Paquetá, maybe not. That one I think is a bit more questionable. Michail Antonio coming off is quite straightforward. But he replaces them both with Flynn Downs and Pablo Fornals. Now, I like both the players. I think they both add a little bit of something. But you've got Divine and Barmer sitting on the bench. You've got Kamari Simon Swire sitting on the bench, both of whom are in really good form for the 21s. You've got 4 minutes left. Why not? Why not? What's the problem? That is where I think he loses a little bit of traction for me. I think I'm probably going to give him... I'm torn between a 5 and a 6. I think 5 might be a little bit overly harsh for a team that has gone into the next round of the cup. So I'm probably gonna edge towards a 6. But that's a bit more than I noticed some people have given him. Primarily, Mr. Walsh, you've given him a 1.
1?
And Trodge makes the observation that it's a little bit harsh, but that's his opinion. He's sticking to it. As he goes on to say, we're playing a second string Brentford, and it was a slice of good fortune. Benny got the goal, and it dug him out of the shit, basically. Dean's Life gives him a 5, but 4 of those were for bringing Benny on. Yeah, fair point, mate. Fair point. Paul gives him 56. I'm guessing you're torn between a 5 and a 6, bit same as me. Tried his level best not to lose rather than to win, as his default setting. His charges are only off the back. Changes, sorry. Learn to read. His changes are only off the back of 5 straight defeats, not because we've been found out. Troj gives him a 6, and Charlie can't give him any credit for yesterday.
Again, I get the impression Charlie's not over enamoured with Mr.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Charlie was there. He witnessed it all unfold in front of him. So from that, you're giving him a 0. Okay, fair enough. Peter says, Oggy said some nice words about Gold after the match. That's good to hear. We've had too many bogey teams. It's the West Ham way. I remember Everton as well. Haven't beaten Brighton in 10 games. There we go. I knew it was sort of approaching double figures if it wasn't double figures already. Thanks for that, Charlie. Troj says he regards them as bogey due to the manner of the losses to them, i.e. beatings. I don't know about beatings. You know, last season it was 1-1 and they scored right at the last knockings. So, but yeah, he did seem to have a little bit of information on David Moyes. Gives him a 5, says Paul, not 56. Rating was above that comment. Hang on a minute. What comment?
That he can't give Moyes any credit.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Right, well, that's all that taken care of. So I'm now, I said 60 seconds I'd shut it, and it's been longer than that, but I am now going to shut the poll. It probably won't be any surprise to, oh, hang on, I've just realised why I didn't, I got your, right, I'll tell you what's happened, Charlie. Your comment has been held for review on YouTube. I'm gonna read it because I won't be able to get this up on StreamYard, but you guys in the live chat probably can already see it, and I'm gonna, you know, it's nothing sort of really that bad there in my opinion. But he says Moyes 3, boring dinosaur Pratt, made to look like a mug yesterday by the away fans, singing for Benny all game. The team beat Brentford reserves in spite of his tactics, and Benny shut that twat right up. So YouTube has decided to withhold your comment. I'm guessing, I don't know whether it would have withheld it for Pratt. I think probably the twat word is probably the reason why it's withheld it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. YouTube does this sometimes. But anyway, it probably won't be a surprise, Steve, to yourself or anybody else that's in the live chat to realise that the man of the match, as voted for by the Forge from Iron viewers on YouTube, is Mr. Saeed Ben Rama.
Yeah.
Saeed Ben Rama is 56%. He got the vote as the man of the match. And yes, I will insist on calling it the man of the match, not this player of the match bullshit. He's man of the match.
Fair enough. I agree.
He is by an absolute landslide. Just to give you the full SP. So Benny got 56% on the vote. Naya Gerd got 28%. Lucas Paquetá on 13%. And Declan Rice got 2% of the vote. So I think it's fairly overwhelming. Saeed Ben Rama in 21 minutes on the pitch is still the man of the match. I gave him my man of the match. Although I gave him the same score as Naya Gerd, I think that because he obviously was the guy that advanced us to the next stage, he's probably 8.01. So he gets it. Don't worry about that, Charlie. You know me. I say a lot worse than you've ever typed. Don't worry about that. So, but anyway. Well, anyway, Steve, I'd like to thank you very much indeed for you joining me on this stream about the match that took place yesterday at the Gtech Stadium. And yeah, you guys in the live chat that's contributed, thank you very much indeed. Before you all disappear, if you wouldn't mind at all, it would help us greatly to drop a like on the stream, as it says, comment on, share the stream to your social media platforms, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'm guessing most of you have. And if you have or haven't subscribed, if you do subscribe, make sure you hit that bell icon, and as and when there's new content added, you'll always be notified. And as always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. I'm just going to finish off with wishing you a pleasant Sunday evening. We'll see you again for the Wolves preview is the next one that's scheduled. There might be something else that comes up. You never know if there's some breaking news or something going on in the West Ham world that we feel is pertinent. We might do something. You never know. But other than that, guys, I'm going to wish you a very good evening. Stay safe. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you
We'll
Irons.
see you the other side of things. And don't forget to give your support to the Iron Supporting Food Bank charity, if you would be so kind. Take care. Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.